Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Welcome. Come on in, put your feet up, have a cup of tea, and listen to some science, technology, engineering, and maths that you can try yourself at home if you so choose to. Today we were sent in a question by Willow from West Cork. A shout out to Willow in West Cork. How are you getting on? And you wanted to know about 3D printing. It is an amazing thing to do, and you can even buy printers that you can use yourself at home. But I need to talk to you a little bit about what it is first of all, and I am going to do use one of the things that is most important to me in my life, these kind of interlocking bricks, but also these things that link together. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how things that sit together are able to, and on top of each other, help design buildings, but build things soundly or structurally safe. Oh, look, I'll explain what I mean. So these blocks, which are quite noisy, if you build them on their side when they're not linking together, they're not sticking into each other, so you start just putting them up on the side of each other like this, you start building them on the flat side of the surface, and you keep building, and you're building, and you can get up to pretty high heights. Very liquid, it's obviously holding in one direction there for a second, because the weight is, and it already collapsed. Not the best. So if you build these the way that they're supposed to be built, which is actually interlocking, and you put them on top of each other, and they start connecting, although not the most stable, they're still pretty stable in comparison, so they won't fall over. It's a little bit wobbly, but it's much more steady because things are linking to each other as opposed to just sitting on top and falling away. It's the same way with the bricks. You don't just, in a house, you don't just put them on top of each other, you put mortar in between them so they stick together. That's kind of the stickiness here. And that's exactly what happens with 3D printing. But what is the 3D element of it? Well, let me explain. Okay, so normal printing, if you have a printer at home, usually what you have is a sheet of paper coming along and there's an ink cartridge and it will go across and then around and down. So if you needed to get to somewhere over here, you know the printer would have to go over this far and down that far to get to this point. So 2D printing is in two directions, up and across, that way. 3D printing is that same coordinate system, across or up and down, but also up this way, a third height dimension. So you're going up, down, printing across, but also going up as you go, interlocking on top of each other as you go. So it's getting up higher and higher. It's like if you go to a film in the cinema and you're looking at it on screen and it's on a flat screen and you can see all the pictures, whereas when you wear the one with 3D glasses, it looks like it's coming out at you. It has depth, so it's flying at you. So it's that extra dimension that looks towards you. So that's exactly what 3D printing is. Instead of just being on a flat surface, it's actually building up on top of each other. So you have one bit that builds up on top of another bit, another bit, another bit, and eventually, well, you build complex structures that all together. And the amazing thing about 3D printing is that it's not bricks that they build. You know that they're building wind turbines with 3D printing concrete, or they're 3D printing food. They're making actually like meat, fake meat made from plants that they're 3D printing, or even like little mini lamps like this they're making, or protective PPE. But it can also be scaled up. So the one that they're building with concrete, like even this lamp, like I have a bigger version of it here. Like look, this is exactly the same design, but it's just gotten bigger. So something that works on a small scale can work on a big, massive scale. And you can share your ideas everywhere. And I can show you exactly how it works in action. I've got a 3D printer behind me now, and I'll show you. Give me 1 second, I'm just gonna go over. It's actually finished now at this stage. There we go, cool. So this boat was 3D printed. Now it took ages to do, 7 hours in fact, but we see the way it's being printed. It starts off with a blank and one layer of plastic, and then another layer of plastic on top of that, and another, gradually building up until you get this shape. Actually, it's quite sustainable because you don't waste a lot of material because you're only printing the bits that you need. You don't have to like get a piece of wood and then hack half it off and carve it. You're printing only the bits that you need. And if you're making it out of the right kind of plastic, you can make something, then break it down and then print it again and then use it somewhere else. And the interesting thing about using this stuff is that it's accessible. So you can try this, but also anywhere in the world. You could email a design to someone in Africa and they could 3D print your design. You don't have to make something and ship it. So it can go anywhere in the world. Or if you're in a crisis center or there's been like a disaster of some kind, you'd be like, send the things or make PPE or anything else. So the whole thing about this today was to just introduce, based on your question from Willow in West Cork, what is 3D printing? This is 3D printing. It's anything that you can set your mind to. So Ireland, I would like to set you a challenge. What would you like to 3D print and what would you like to 3D print with? Would you make things with chocolate? Would you create something amazing? And like, I know everybody hasn't got access to a 3D print, but you can prototype your ideas with interlocking blocks or bricks, or you could 3D print with cheese or with cake topping. Like imagine like you've got a cake and you put a splodge and then a splodge and then a splodge and then you build up the next layer with icing, a blodge. You can construct an icing house, which you could then eat your creation. Like, try making things with even mala. How would you make lots of little blobs with Play-Doh, just all the same size, and then ping them together up into a giant structure. Send us in your attempts at prototypes, and then maybe you can there are shops around even Ireland who do this for you. Have a go at coming up with some great ideas, and maybe you could make something as awesome and as pretty as this. Like, I mean, look at this lamp. I like lamp. Lamp is nice, it's pretty, it's good, it's impressive. And I have a boat. And I mean, just let your ideas sail away and come up and send them into rte.ie/learn.